You can order a fabulous carrot cake as well as a delicious pastrami Reuben sandwich, and they both just happen to be gluten-free. Want a hint? Fresh, real food, seasonally inspired menus, a full-service bakery, and the friendliest service in town. You guessed it, Gourmet Girls Bakery Bistro, Southern Arizona's gluten-free experts. The girls are serving breakfast and lunch every day. Beer, wine, and signature cocktails always on the menu. And coming soon, happy hours with new menu items. Located on North Oracle Road, visit gourmetgirlsglutenfree.com. Gourmet Girls Bakery Bistro. Fresh, delicious, and it just happens to be gluten-free. Your taste buds will never know the difference. Come join us. You'll be glad you did. Proud member of the Tucson Originals.
Hey everybody, our friends at Alltech Security, Fabian and Chris, they believe in providing their clients with only the highest quality services and state-of-the-art products to give you peace of mind. Alltech Security is locally owned, of course, and operated with more than 40 years of experience in the security industry, keeping your family, your home, or your business safe and secure. Now, Alltech Security has all kinds of options to provide you with a security system that will fit any budget. They use only time-tested products from manufacturers that stand behind those products. And Alltech can provide local 24-hour monitoring services for pretty much any security system. With their quality service, you can finally rest assured that you are prepared when and if an emergency occurs. Alltech Security also backing their systems with an outstanding warranty and superb technical support. So be safe rather than sorry. Visit alltechsecurity.com today. That's alltechsecurity.com.
Join Power Talk for the most exciting coverage of local and state races available in a unique format that only we could pull off. Why? It's all about the power to think for yourself. A pretty important way to head to the ballot box.
Mission given to me by Woody Shaw, Sunship, Dizzy, and John Kahn, dedicated to pursuing a piece of our cultural heritage through interviews with my music heroes. This is The Jake Feinberg Show. Welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 2919 East Broadway. This is the Jake Feinberg Show, coming to you on Power Talk Live. We are a full-on internet radio broadcasting company. Please go to powertalk.live, download the free app to your smartphone or your, stream live on your computer. Everyone's got one these days. And it's the way of the new world, and we are streaming all of our live local shows worldwide, including Solomon on Blast and the Jake Feinberg Show, and it is just an honor to have you as part of the program today. And about to bring in I was flying on a jet plane back to Phoenix last week from Boston, and I was transcribing this interview with Calvin Keys, and he mentioned this drummer who had played on Full Court Press. And at the time it didn't really register or anything, but then all of a sudden I got friended by this guy, and he starts to share my posts. He's getting a kick out of it, and doing the research. I mean, I wound up walking ass backwards into one of the heaviest cats in the land. It's my honor to introduce Curly Martin to the Jake Feinberg Show.
How you doing today?
How are you, my brother?
Oh, I'm doing great. Jay. Doing great.
I want to ask you something. Can you talk about what was in the water in Omaha, Nebraska that produced so many titanic rhythmists, including yourself? I mean, how can you account for the regional sound there? Because I was looking through the Hall of Fame, and I just was kind of floored by the cats that came out of there, man. I mean, how do you account for it?
Oh, that's I have no idea. Except when I remember when Calvin and myself was growing up, There were just so many great players in Omaha, man. It was just everybody was playing. It really was. And then you had so many people coming through Omaha at that time, Nate Morris and stuff.
Leo Morris, you mean Idris Muhammad?
Idris Muhammad. I met him only one time, and I really got hip to Idris Muhammad when he was playing with Charles Irwin.
Oh, that's the gravy train. I mean, this is. But was he Leo Morris before? But he changed his name, or am I wrong?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The thing I wanted to talk about is that okay, so you had a lot of cats coming through town, but I mean, how could you describe the regional sound of Omaha? I mean, you could talk. I mean, New Orleans has their own kind of, Native American, bayou rhythms. The Southeast, you could say, Hot Atlanta, more the soul. I mean, there's the L.A. and San Francisco had two different jazz sounds.
Right.
I mean, how would you? Because before full interconnection, how would you break down the sound of Omaha or Nebraska in general?
Omaha, well, especially Omaha was the only town that really had music in it, the whole state of Nebraska, basically, except for Lincoln, where the college is. But it was just real energetic music for some reason, and people were happy in Omaha during the time I came up. That had really a lot to do with it. Everybody was happy. So with that kind of mindset, you had nothing. I mean, the good things were going on all the time. So the music was just part of it because we had music 7 days a week. You had music in North Omaha for sure. 7 days a week.
Why
you had all styles of music.
Why were people so happy?
Everybody was living good. Everybody was getting along. It was just a great time. We had no idea, as a kid growing up in Omaha, we had no idea about it. We didn't even think about going to California or New York at, say, ages 16 and 17. Because we figured we'd spend the rest of our life playing in Omaha because there were so many great musicians here, and people were playing 7 nights a week and raising families off of playing music.
Unbelievable. See, I mean, this was in America, in the breadbasket of the United States of America, and you had, would you say dozens or hundreds of musicians making a living in Omaha?
No, I would say at least a couple hundred.
Unbelievable. I mean, so you had a couple hundred. I mean, to me that's invigorating. Now, can you talk about the first? I mean, when did you first? How did you connect with Buddy Miles?
Okay, the way I connected with Buddy Miles was I joined Preston Love's band at 16 years old. President had to get permission from my parents for me to go play with them on the road. But during that time, George Miles Sr., who's Buddy's dad, was the bass player in Preston's big band. And they were living in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So when we went on the road, we always stopped at their house. And that's how I met Buddy. I was like 17 and Buddy was 12.
Holy cow. So wait, they were living in South Dakota?
Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Holy cow! And you were playing with Preston Love, is that right?
Yeah, when I was 16.
What kind of grooves? I mean, was it because when I talked to Gadsden, he would like his band was like the the rhythm section for Hank Ballard and the Midnighters, and but before Hank would play his gig, Gadsden would come on and start playing. With his own band, and they were channeling Coltrane and playing a lot of free jazz, and and I'm curious about if it was the same kind of setup where even though there might have been a lead bill like a lead attraction, but you guys would be able to play the opening set as a rhythm section.
Well, playing Preston's band was mostly Count Basie, Glenn Miller, Count Basie charts, that kind of stuff. The big swing era. As far as the other stuff going and stuff, it was the biggest thing that happened in the Midwest was the organ fields and the organ groups. That was huge in the Midwest because every club, and actually every jazz club in America, maybe except for the Vanguard or the Blue Note in New York, had a B3 and 2 Leslies in it.
I love this. Now, okay, so now let's just break this down because the Vanguard and those places a little more. Like upright piano, but was it as simple as saying it's just the idea of the organ coming out of the church into the nightclub? How come there were organs? How come that was the melodic rhythm of melodic instrument of choice in these bars?
Probably the first organ player that brought to the forefront, I would say, was, they say Wild Bill Davis. That's a little bit before my time, but I would say an organ player named Bill Doggett.
Sure.
They came out with hit records like Honky Tonk as an organ group. And so the first time I heard Jimmy Smith, I think it was 1957. Donald Berry playing drums, guitar player named Thornell Schwartz.
Oh my
God!
Well,
it was ridiculous.
Well, I don't know if you saw those excerpts I put up from my interview with Donald. He was just talking. There was this album called Judo Mambo, and it was from that time. Thornell on electric guitar, almost unheard of at that time.
Right.
Plugging in at that time. But I mean, can you parse, because I think Doggett, if he was around today, and Wild Bill, those cats would say that they were swing organ players, where Jimmy was the first one to really incorporate the bebop in the organ. And I wanted to get your take on that and what separated him from really the pioneers, Doggett and Wild Bill.
Well, now Doggett actually played some state. I remember when I was probably about 14. Doggett came out with a tune called Leaps and Bounds, which was a straight ahead bebop tune, rhythm changes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did.
That's when they were putting like 4 songs on the 45. They had 2 songs on one side,
yeah, right.
2 songs on the other side.
What's the name of the tune?
It was called Leaps and Bounds.
Leaps and Bounds. I'm going to check that out. So you consider, so he was but I mean, what when Jimmy came on the scene, what was so startling about what separated him and what continues to separate him as being a master?
Left hand bass line.
Yeah.
Because most people think that organ players play the bass line with their foot, which they don't. That's left hand bass line. They'll use the pedals to accent notes, But Jimmy's bass line was just so good, and it wasn't real repetitious. He was actually playing the changes with his bass line. Where some organ players would play a bass line over and over again, real repetitious. You know what I'm saying?
He would play the changes. Wow.
Yes, like a bass player would.
Oh man, that's badass. Okay, so I mean, did you get a chance to sit in with him?
No, of all the organ players, I work with Groove Holmes. I work with Jack McDuff.
You talk. So those guys are in the same ball. I mean, I want you to talk about those cats. I mean, they're missing from mainstream American music today. I mean, maybe they're hip hoppers, maybe they're samplers, or they're doing other things with themselves. But those guys, they're bigger than Gut Bucket cats. But I mean, Richard Groove Holmes, when he would come here to Tucson, I mean, I was born in '78, so it was long before my time. But he would just stare at people in the audience and smile, playing that left-hand bass line, and just those cats. Can you talk about the experience, what you learned, and how you grew as a musician playing with guys like McDuff and Groove?
Well, I played one gig with Groove in Kansas City at a club called Club Elise at a jam session. And what got me about him was that left-hand bass line was so steady, and it was just straight up funky. It just swung so hard. But back doing it was so many organ players that was killing. That was the thing. We had a circuit going on. Here's what was going on.
Yeah.
It was Omaha, Nebraska, Kansas City, Missouri, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Denver, Colorado, and San Francisco. That was the organ group's circuit. So for about 5 years, we all worked 7 nights a week in that circuit.
And I actually, the more humorful thing is I really want you to talk about your transportation, maybe tying your trap set to the top of a car. I remember talking to Junie Booth when he was with Art Blakey driving across the country, and just Blakey's drum set might fall off the top of the car onto the road.
We did a little better. Well, we did a little better because Preston had a big old bus. So I thought I was big time.
Oh, you were big time. No, you were big time.
Yeah, junior high school. I was rolling. But with the organs, a lot of the organ players was buying hearses.
Absolutely. No, exactly. No, listen, they would store everything in the hearses and drive them around. It's not.
That's right.
It's an ingenious.
That's right.
It's just an ingenious thing, actually, in my mind.
Right. That was the first minivan. Was the hearse.
So when you saw Buddy, was he already playing drums at that point?
No, Buddy used to take my drums off. They used to call me Young Blood when I was 16. So Buddy would say, "Bud, can I use your drums?" He would take my drums off the bus. I would let him play them. I said, "As long as you put them back in the case, put them back on the bus." So this is like 1961. So about 4 years later, I'm playing in San Francisco on Fillmore and Ellis. And so somebody said, "Man, we're going down to Fillmore East." I said, "Really? What's going on down in Fillmore West? What's going on?" "Well, Wilson Pickett's in town."
Wow.
"And man, they got a drummer from your hometown playing drums." I said, "What the hell is that?" When I go in there, just Buddy and I was playing drums at 16 years old with Wilson Pickett.
Okay, so I'm actually even more fast. I as stunning as that is, I actually want to ask you, because, I mean, maybe I would have been held up, or, would have put my life in my hands. But I really think I would have played. I would have gone down to those dawn sessions at the Fillmore West every single night. I mean, can you talk about how you got in there? Did you stay at the Booker T. Washington Hotel? Did you stay at
Wait a minute. Wait now. Hold tight.
Yeah.
See, here's now, I was a jazz snob in the 60s.
Sure.
I only went because Buddy was playing. I wasn't thinking about playing no My Girl or Shotgun or none of that. So we were playing. I was living in the Booker T. Washington Hotel, playing downstairs 6 nights a week.
Oh my! Where have you? Finally, I've connected with you're my hero. The book
down in the lounge. We'd go up to Jackson Sutter after hours and go hang out with Merle Saunders now.
Oh boy! And this is in the early '60s. You're talking about?
This is like '65.
Okay. This is beginning to start to blow my mind. So, because I think did Wes Montgomery either own the Booker T, or he had a house, he had a room there? Did the Montgomery brothers hang out there?
I don't remember. A bunch of musicians lived there.
A bunch of musicians. And who was the steady group in the lounge at the Booker T. Washington
I was.
I mean, it was a trio, right? It was an organ trio?
Yeah, it was a trio. I was working with an organ player named Louis Shashir out of Kansas City.
How do you spell his last name?
Louis Shashir. I have no idea.
And what about
I know it.
Yeah.
I know it's from Lake Charles, Louisiana. That's all I know.
And who was the guitar player?
Dwight Foster. He played guitar and tenor saxophone.
Oh, so he would play dual instruments during the gig.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
They could play.
And
you got to realize the 4 and More album had just came out by Miles, so we was doing every tune on there. Joshua and all those tunes.
So talking to Curly Martin here on the Jake Feinberg Show. So who else would come down? Well, I guess who would come check you guys out? Like what drummers were? Trying to think about who was already settled in, because San Francisco, the scene in San Francisco got settled. John Hendricks came out, Evolution of the Blues, and a lot of the East Coast cats came out to San Francisco, but that's after you were already there. I mean,
right.
Did you have interactions with Charles Sullivan at all?
Charles Sullivan.
Sullivan was the
club owner?
Yeah. He
owned the Rossonian in Denver.
I want to get to the bottom of this, because the cat had major monopolies on all the major clubs, and then he was found dead with a shotgun blast and $20,000 in his car. Calvin told me that. And
he's the one that owned the club. He owned the Rossonian, another club I played when I was about 19. So we played 6 nights a week at the Rossonian.
The Rossonian.
On 5 Points, which was 5 clubs right there. KC Lounge, Voters Club, bunch of stuff going on, man.
But I mean, can you like that circuit? Why don't you just paint the picture for the audience, especially in like going to could have been Martinez or Vallejo, San Francisco. Were you on that circuit? Because I mean, when James Brown and the Flames would come in, they were all stocked. They were in Concord. They were everywhere.
No, our circuit at the at the hotel. Though.
I love it. You were just at the hotel. I love you were at the Booker T. Washington Hotel. That
was part of that circuit I was telling you about. Was San Francisco, Denver, Minneapolis, Kansas City, and Omaha. In Minneapolis was a club called the Blue Note. That was the main jazz club. Kansas City, the club was called OG, and Club Delisa. Those were the main clubs. In Omaha, it was Allen Showcase. In Denver, it was the Voters Club. So that was a circuit we played for about 5 years.
And then you're going up to Jack's on Sutter, and Merle's playing straight ahead with a trio?
After hours. Yep.
Please paint the picture for that. This is major stuff. This is classic. It's just,
everybody would get off the gig. What time we get off? You get off the gig at 2 o'clock. And Jack and them would start playing about 2:30 to 6 in the morning. And that was on Friday and Saturdays. And everybody go up there and hang out. And just play. And through me doing all that, then I got the gig with King Pleasure for about a month. So it worked out pretty good. So it really did.
No, I mean that's you met King there in the jam session?
I met King Pleasure. No, he came down to where we were playing at the Booker T. Washington, because we played 2 weeks behind Little Willie John.
Oh my! Are you kidding me?
No, and Little Willie John knew every standard tune in the book.
Yeah. So because that cat would not strike me as a jazzer, but you're saying he knew all the.
Woo! Killer singer, killer.
And he knew he had. How much do you think? I look at a lot of younger cats today. Not that I'm totally in the scene. I am sort of in a bubble, but I do find that a lot of cats. There's 2 questions I wanted you to pontificate on. A lot of cats now, they don't have a big bag of tunes. They don't know hundreds of standards. You guys knew hundreds of tunes, okay? And then from a lot of those tunes, a lot of the brilliant cats, the Ornette Colemans and the Horace Tapscotts and the Calvin Keys and those cats, they would just improvise and make compositions off of those tunes in a lot of ways.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So how important? Why was it important to have a big bag of tunes, to know a lot of standards? Explain why it was important.
Because that way you could go anywhere in the world and play with different musicians. Because you had the set repertoire of these tunes that everybody knew. And if you were going to be a jazz musician, you had to know the real book. So somebody called off Still About Starlight or I Remember April, everybody knew the change. Everybody knew it.
Right.
What key and everything.
And then can you talk about how if somebody was going beyond the parameters or experimenting, how you could... Because, ultimately, did you get to a point where you were starting to play more free music? That was that time. There was so much free jazz going on. So explain how...
Well, yeah.
So, knowing those standards, can you explain how you can, by having that confidence of knowing that stuff, then going into the unknown? How do you have confidence in the unknown by having all that foundation?
Well, as a drummer, it was all about being rhythmic, about the rhythm. So that's when a lot of cats started paying attention. That say started taking fours and playing over the bar line and different little tricks like that, and just messing with time and like Roy Haynes has stopped playing the hi hat on 2 and 4 all the time and freeing the drummer up more and stuff.
Who was the first? Who was the first one to stop playing the hi hat on 2 and 4? Was it Roy?
It's hard to say. I would mainly say Roy.
Yeah.
I would mainly say Roy. Yeah. When I was coming up, my favorite drummer when I was about 13 was Max Roach, because he played so melodic.
So melodic. Right. And then, because, you look at the evolution. I've been tracing this. I have a fever that won't break on this stuff. It's like I just, it's Kenny Clark, it's Max Roach, and then there's all of kind of Roach's disciples, and there's other cats in there too, but it's the guys that were using a lot of rebound. We're not doing the traditional play, like you said, playing the hi-hat on 2 and 4. I find that, I guess, can you talk, we talk about, Pete LaRocca or Joe Chambers or Curly Martin. Can you talk about I just find we're in a musical society and culture now where the emphasis is always to know where the one is, and a huge emphasis on backbeat. And I wanted you to talk about how getting away from backbeat can extend the cosmic nature of music.
It just frees you up. If you consistently playing backbeat on 2/4, it's like playing quarter notes on a kick drum through a whole tune. which they did years and years ago, and they call it feathering the bass drum. But it's like, again, it just locks the drummer down. Even if when I'm playing R&B and funk, that's a little different. Then it's about me playing the 2 and 4. But then mentally and physically, I imply, if that makes sense to you, that I'm playing much more or something else. And basically, I'm just playing 2 and 4.
How do you imply that?
Attitude.
I love it, man. This is so hard to verbalize. I'm looking here, Leaps and Bounds by Ernie Freeman, 1958. But you're telling me Doggett was the first. Who was the one that the original Leaps and Bounds?
The first time I heard it was Doggett.
Doggett. I love that you just put Doggett on the map. Bailey said that. Donald said that. Rest in peace. He said that Jimmy was the first bebopper. But I like the fact that you were able to articulate that. I think this is just important to trace it back. There's no doubt those guys had jazz chops, but you know, I mean, it was. Can you? What about? What was the most? So the organ trios were hopping. All the finger popping daddies were coming down. Dawn sessions. You were raising your families. You know, when did you? What would be considered the most improvisational, free form? Band that you had ever that you were ever a part of in your career?
That I had the most fun in, I would say.
I think that's right. Exactly. That's right. Attitude.
Attitude, man. An organ trio with me, an organ player named Billy Holloman, and probably the best guitar player I played in my life, named Jerry Bennett. Just dead now.
Jerry who?
Jerry Bennett.
Jerry Bennett. What made him so? Wow.
Never recorded anything.
Oh man, dude, this is unbelievable. So what made him stand out so much? He just burned?
It's just man, he plays so much. My favorite guitar player is George Benson. So think of growing up with somebody that played like Benson all your life, and that was Jerry Bennett. Because he was playing like that at 15 years old.
Did you wind up playing when was the first time you played outside of an organ trio format?
I fell in love with organs in '63. I probably stopped really playing with them about 12 years later because they kind of faded out. Right. And then I moved to L.A. And then Buddy Miles called me in '74, and I moved to L.A.
He called you and you moved, or you were already down there?
No, I was in Anchorage, Alaska.
What the heck? What was the vibe? What was the scene like up there?
7 nights a week with an organ trio playing straight ahead.
Give me this is unbelievable. I mean, all I want to do is walk into a dark club in Tucson and you know, and just see some, you know, I do like people that are kicking pedals. Who was the best person that played bass line with their feet that you thought?
Actually, none of them really played pedals like that. People don't understand that.
I know. Turk told me on the show a month ago, that's a misnomer. It's always bass line. Very few people play their bass lines with their feet.
I've only seen Chester Thompson used to do it.
That's right.
It ain't been too many, and that was a combination of left hand and pedals, you know? Because the pedals had no sustain to them on the OB3s.
Right.
So they was using them like, now on ballads, they would use the pedals. Because they could play full chords with their left hand and do other stuff with their right hand, then use the pedals. They would do it like that now. But on the faster stuff, it's left hand bass.
So was there anybody that, besides Chester, because I mean, he's everyone talks about Chester, was there anybody under the radar that did it proficiently?
Okay, organ player named Jimmy Ed, organ player named Billy Holloman.
Holloman. Where are these? Are these cats around?
I don't know where Jimmy Ed is. Billy Holloman's in Philadelphia.
Oh, I got to get to anyone that was doing like the Charles Erlin. You know, this great story about Charles Erlin was that he was a tenor sax player growing up in Philly with Pat Martino, and they went to the Jockey Club to see Kenny Burrell and Jimmy Smith, and Jimmy's output was so intense that night that Erlin went back, stopped playing the horn, and just started playing organ. And he didn't know any chords, but he learned it with Pat in the garage, the two of them. It's just, to me,
that's what I heard, because I spent a lot of time in New Haven, Connecticut, And Charles Early spent a lot of time around that area too.
Really? You and Charles were able to break it down?
No, I never had a chance to meet him. Never did. And it was hard to meet cats back then because everybody was working 7 nights a week. Everybody was for a cat to go hang out or try to make it, if it wasn't after hours, it was hard to run into cats.
Can you talk about a seminal moment with Buddy in the sense of, I guess, when you develop all your technique, when you have your technique and your rudiments down, and then you become a conduit for the spirits to come through you, and the music begins to come through you. And that's the mysticism and magic of live performing. And I wanted you to talk about a time, could have been with Buddy, could have been any time, when you really just left your physical body when you were playing.
That happened probably, and I tell people they don't believe. I've been on gigs quite a bit years ago, but actually every night of the night was almost like that. I mean, you be on the stage, and even your wrong stuff sounds good. You know what I'm saying?
I love it.
Or you be anxious to get to the gig, got butterflies in your stomach, because you playing with some bad cats, and y'all fixing to kill the gig. You know you fixing to kill. There's no doubt in your mind. It's just how much you gonna kill. But you know you fixing to kill the gig. That went on for a few years, for quite a while actually.
So was it the type of thing where, I guess, is there a way to verbalize it for younger cats? Because we live in a much more formulaic delivery of music now. In fact, there's more pacification than ever before compared to the burning music that you came up with and played. And so I think you go ahead.
Well, no, what was that? Now back then, bands were like a family. You know what I'm saying? Because you rehearsed. If you were working 7 nights a week, you was rehearsing 4 days a week for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So all you were doing was just music. That's all was on your mind 24/7. And then your group stayed together. You working 6-7 nights a week. The group's together 4 or 5 years. It becomes a family. So when you get on the stage, you already know somebody's gonna play before they play it. And you don't have that no more. That kind of unity no more in bands.
Why do you think?
I don't know, man. It needs to get back to that if you can find. It's getting back to that now, thanks to people like my son Terrence Martin and Kamasi Washington and stuff.
Is he playing? Is he playing with Kamasi?
They do gigs off and on together and stuff, but they all grew up together. Thundercat, all them cats grew up together. Ronald Bruin Jr.
I'm gonna have to interview all the cats from that band because to me that they're right on the cusp of that spiritual consciousness movement. Did you ever, like Jimmy Daniels? Did you ever play with Jimmy?
No.
He played with Merle.
Oh yeah, I seen him a bunch of times with Merle though.
Yeah,
I was just sitting there with him.
Yeah, no. I just wanted to. Have you ever crossed paths with David Garibaldi?
I never met David Garibaldi. I mean, when he quit Tower Power, I was living in L.A. and he was teaching out at Dick Grove Music, and I still never. And I was recording at Kingdon Studios, which wasn't far from there. I just never went by to go holler at him, and I never met him, but I always admired his playing.
Well, I'll tell you guys should definitely connect. You guys would have a ball, and Curly, I want to do part 2 with you and get down. You were really good at actually. You were very, very good at not. At not kind of not overplaying on our interview, which was impressive. You didn't go on too many words. But I know there's some I mean, listen. All I'm going to say is this, Curly. Whether it's Turk, Coulter, Curly. I want to get to every single San Jose, Jackson Sutter, San Francisco, Booker T. Washington Hotel cat that I can find. Those you guys. So if that Holloman cat's around, he's up for it. I would love to connect anybody. I want to just keep rolling with this and keep going after those jagged rhythms.
You know what you let me say? I'm trying to think right quick.
No, we'll talk. I'll call you later. I'm just we're live all over the world right now.
Okay. What I was going to tell you now, and the world needs to know this. When you call me later, just send me your address, and I'm going to send you a tape of me, this guitar player named Jerry Ben and Billy Howard, recorded in 1971 in New Haven, Connecticut. I want you to hear this. I'll make you a copy.
I'll have that seared into my brain for years. Please. All right. I'll call you later, Curly. It was such an honor to connect with you, man.
Thank you so much.
Talk to you soon, brother.
All right.
All right. Peace. We'll be right back with Linda Imperial on the Jake Feinberg Show.